Welcome back, you powerful self-healers, to another episode of Sacred Pause, the Self-Healers Podcast. Today, my guest is a dear friend of mine, Danielle Kali-Tyrrell. Did I say it right?
It's pretty close, Tyrrell.
Tyrrell, okay, there you go.
That was good.
Thank you, I appreciate it. You know how nervous I was about that. She's a perfect guest for this podcast. Perfect guest. Not only does she have a beautiful name that I just messed up, but she also has the most beautiful soul. And I felt it the second I met her. I really did. And I don't know if it's despite or in spite of your challenging life. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's in spite.
Both work, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm crying, so this is good. I always say if I cry, it's a good podcast. And
Good.
we're 1 minute in, so
Good.
here we go.
Yeah.
And I know her story will impact you in ways you can't even imagine. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Thank you, and thank you for letting Bruce and I
Oh my
lap
gosh,
my
it's the
puppy.
best.
One
Our
of
hair
three.
matches. You know? So cool.
That's very cool.
It's perfect. And the last name, when I first got it, since it's my married name, I literally had to make up a song, like how to spell it and stuff. And like,
Okay.
it's the hardest last name in the
I
world,
really
so,
appreciate you
yeah,
making me feel
it's
better.
the hardest last name.
Okay, well, I would love to start with you, if you're called, to share some of your, some monumental moments in your life, some challenges,
Yeah.
any that stand out, and then how you overcame them. I think that would be a great place to start.
Sure. Should I just do like the basics? Like the
Like-
quick background?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you want to share, this is the time.
Okay, yeah. So I guess it all started, I was born in Los Angeles, like born and raised in Los Angeles, and good upbringing. Like, I feel like I don't know of anything crazy. I mean, it's a couple crazy things. I don't know. But it was good. I have a good mom, good dad, and I feel like it just all kind of started around 10 years old. I started to get like severe depression.
10 years old?
10 years old, like super young. Like I would like get in the bath and I'd just cry, and my mom would be like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you crying?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, I just don't feel good." And I'd like go sit in the closet and cry, and it was just like very strange. So yeah, very young, and then that kind of led to, and I was like a little chubby as a kid. I feel like I'm a little chubby now, but I'm pregnant, so it's okay.
Permission to be chubby. Not that you need it.
Yeah,
Not that anyone needs
not
it.
that anyone needs it. But yeah, I was like a chunkier kid, and I felt like bad about that, and self-conscious. And then when I turned 13, I guess first, I think 12, it kind of started. I started getting really conscious of my body, like being in middle school, and I kind of started having an eating disorder, like anorexia kind of snuck in a little bit, and it was nothing too extreme yet, just like restricting a little bit and really watching what I ate. And I remember I was asking my mom, like, what can I do to lose weight? Will this help? And then that continued on, and I turned 13, and the depression, anxiety was just bad. So, and then once you turn 13, you're like,
Whole new ball game.
Whole new ball game. You're in middle school too, and then you have all these different tools start to be offered to you. Like you start smoking pot, things start being around you, like drugs and all these options.
I love how you said tools.
Tools. Well, they're my tools,
Yeah,
not the
for
best tools.
Yeah,
but so at 13, I started smoking weed, and I just remember like feeling so much relief, like for the first time. I was like, oh, that feels good. I feel really relaxed. I feel good. And I feel like, since I was 10 and started struggling with that, I didn't feel that way. So, and of course, when you're like, oh, well, that feels good. Like, what else feels good, So I feel like that's when it all kind of started. Got into high school, and the eating stuff kind of got worse and worse, like the, restricting and all that. And then my best friend was dating an older, he was in high school too, he was like next grade up, 10th grade, and I remember he brought Coke to the house one night, and I did that, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. Yeah, I have energy, I'm not hungry.
Checked all the boxes.
Checked all the boxes for me. And, when you're depressed, you just naturally feel kind of like low energy, so it was like nice to feel like peppy and upbeat, and I said, this is the thing, So I did that for, a couple months, and then kind of started hanging out with more kids that were doing that. And then that quickly turned into meth. Like
Woo.
Yeah, so I was 14, and it was crazy. Kids have access to this stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
that's
I was
crazy.
with my friend, and I thought we were doing coke, and she pulled out this stuff, and I was like, that looks like slightly different. And she was like, oh, it's meth. It's like better. It's cheaper, and it lasts longer. And I'm like, great.
It's Coke, but better.
Yeah, it's coke, but better.
How do you say no to that?
How do you say no to that? Yeah, you're 14, and yeah, I also, my mom like worked a lot. She's like, I had my dad around, but kind of a single mom. So, she's working a lot, and I had a lot of, free time, and I felt like I wasn't, didn't have like a parent around all the time to kind of monitor. And then, you play the divorced parent thing too, like, oh, did your dad give you money? No. Did your mom give you money? And then by then, $50, and you're like, I'll go buy some drugs, So I could have used a little more supervision.
Yeah. What age was this around?
14.
Okay.
I was 14.
Thank you for the time. Like, you're really laying it out.
Yeah, I know.
I love it.
I figured this is the story. I'm like, I could go into like other things, but
This is great.
This is the
Keep it up.
Yeah, okay. So from there, I started doing meth. That was like cheaper and better, and so I did that for a couple months. And I got really lucky with like the really hard stuff, like meth and heroin. Like, I feel like God was just like, it never gave me more than, I don't know, like 6 months of doing that. Like these super dangerous ones.
Okay.
So I really quickly got caught with that, actually. Like, the first time I did it before I got on a plane to go to my cousin's wedding in Florida, and I went with my dad and my stepmom. And I think I was overdosing. Like, I did it before I got on the plane. I think something with like the altitude or whatever. Because I remember getting off the plane, I like stood up, I like fell down, and like the next thing I remember, everything was going fast. My stepmom had me in like the airport bathroom splashing water in my face. So anyway, she was like, you have to tell your dad. She's like, what's happening? So my dad found out, and I lied, and I was like, that's the first time I've done it. I won't do it again. So of course I kept doing it again and again. But a couple days after that, I was at school, Santa Monica High School, and I would do it during PE because I hated PE. So like me and a couple of friends would just go behind. You didn't go to Samo, did you?
Pally.
Pally, okay. Pally kid.
Close.
Oh, they have bad meth from Pally.
I was far from there. I didn't even know what meth I did, but I was like, we were opposite kids.
Yeah, totally. When I ended up going to rehab, like all these people were from Pally. I was like, oh, you guys are bad kids. So anyway, I would go do that, and then one day I had just done some like out of my backpack, and my friend asked to do it, and she did it, and as she was doing it, a teacher walked by, saw her, and was like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Were you under the bleachers or something?
No, so at Santa Monica High School, they have the Greek theater, so there's like all these levels of stairs and then an area around it, so it's kind of like an off area, maybe equivalent to under the bleachers, I suppose.
Just for image.
Yeah. It was like,
either way, you got caught.
It was usually a very safe area to be, but for this day, it was not. So I got caught, got arrested. They like saw what I was doing and all that, and my mom found out. She was like devastated. Like, she didn't even know I was smoking pot at the time, and my dad was beyond pissed because he was like, what the hell? Like, I thought this was it. And so from there, I got kicked out of school. It was strongly suggested, I believe. I don't think they wanted an expulsion on my record. So like, you're not expelled, but like, you don't come back. And I was like, gotcha. So so I went to I like outpatient programs, but it's funny, at those things you kind of just meet more people who do drugs, and so I just kept doing the same circle, and eventually my mom was like, I don't know what to do with you, and she looked into some stuff, and she found a wilderness program actually here in Utah. I know, right? So that was my introduction to Utah, but I ended up loving it, and it like completely changed my life.
Great.
I felt like I was like a kid again, like, the first week sucked, but then after that, and it's somewhere you go and you're basically just in the wilderness. I was there for 10 weeks, and you just hike and learn to make your own fire, and
so you're fully stimulated. It's a rehab though, right?
It's like a therapeutic thing. So
but you went there because
I went there,
because
no one's going there because you're doing great,
whatever the issue was.
All the kids had issues, and some were drugs, some were eating disorders, some were that was also kind of playing throughout this whole thing, and I think a big reason why I like doing that, like like being skinny and all that, and So yeah, so I went there. I was there for 10 weeks and I felt a lot better afterwards. I feel like, I don't know, you grew up in LA, maybe you can like relate to this. I feel like you grow very fast in LA and there's like a lot of pressure in a lot of ways.
Honestly, I had most of my influence in Utah. Every holiday I was in Utah. I would go home and I would be depressed. I wanted to live in Utah.
Yeah.
So I didn't really take much influence from LA, but I mean, that's what majority says.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I found it, rough.
Yeah.
For sure. And when I actually was here, I remember like telling my mom I didn't want to live in LA anymore, and
because of that reason.
Yeah, it just felt better here.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. There's more nature. There's more.
And pretty cool. Now we both live.
And now we both live in Utah. We got our wish. Exactly.
Whatever you need, the universe will provide.
Exactly, and it's super healing place to be.
So like, peaceful out.
Yeah,
always
so peaceful.
Even at the grocery, especially at the grocery store.
At the grocery store, yeah. It's like half the people and everyone's super friendly.
Yes, no traffic.
No traffic.
Nice people too.
I know. It's the best. I love it. Yeah, and I feel like it's a place for healing. Like, you know, when I came out here last time, I was like or to move, I wasn't in a good place, and I feel like it really helped just being out here. So, so I did that. Then I went to a little like boarding school for 4 months in Virgin, Utah. That I hated. That sucked. But I ended up, going back home, and I felt better. I was going to this place called Visions, and I would do like school there. And there's like a little school, and you'd have therapy and. Doing really well, and I had like almost a year sober, and like my eating was better,
Nice.
I was doing really well. And then I met my first boyfriend. Yeah. So he was older than me. I lied about my age, so he would, date me.
Okay.
Yeah. Classic. So he was like my first love. I totally. When you're that age, you're like, this is the person I'm going to marry.
And you truly believe
I truly believe that, totally. Because I was actually, despite all my, like, weird, out of control things, I was totally one of those, I'm going to wait till I'm married to have sex. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. I know, weird.
That's good for you.
Thank you. Although that other stuff was happening, I was never, like, super promiscuous. I had boyfriends, but I was kind of like scared of penises up until I was like 16.
You're pretty scary.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I don't know. So, I met him and we started dating, and we had like an amazing relationship, and totally in love, and ended up having sex. I was like, this is the guy I'm going to marry. So
good,
16, and then about, I want to say like 6 months into our relationship, he decided he didn't want to be sober anymore. So I met him in AA.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. I was like, oh.
Yeah, so I left that part. So I met him in AA, because in this program, like, you'd have to go to a certain amount of meetings per week, and he was in sober living at the time. So I met him at an AA meeting, and then we'd see each other, and once he got out of sober living, no, he was still in sober living. I don't know. Anyway, eventually we got together.
But he decided he did not want to be sober anymore.
Yeah, so once he moved out and stuff, he was still living with, like, sober roommates, but he decided he didn't want to be sober. So I was like, okay, and he was in there for heroin, but he didn't go back right to that, but he was like, I'm going to start smoking pot again. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that, but you can do it. So he did it for a couple months, and I actually didn't, and I was happy, and then, you're around that for long enough, and eventually you're like, yeah. So I started smoking weed again, and then did that for a couple months, and then he decided he wanted to start doing coke, and I was like, okay. So I started doing coke with him, and then it all kind of snowballed again.
Yeah.
So got back into that place, and then from there started getting into cutting. I think the thread through all this, and when I talked to my husband about it, he kind of helped me like see it. It's like this like self-hatred, just not being happy with yourself, and really like disliking yourself at like a cellular level. So it just kind of shows itself in all these heads, like in cutting and eating disorders and drugs. It's like whatever you can do to like find relief.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is.
It doesn't matter what it is, exactly. So, so did that for a while, all went bad. Him and I ended up breaking up, getting back together, getting in a lot of trouble together a couple times, like some stories that would be for another podcast. Eventually that ended. I mean, I didn't really get sober again. And then when I was about 18, I had got a horse. So I'm very into horses. So I got a horse, and I started hanging out at this ranch in Burbank, and met this guy who was into heroin. So
Jeez.
I got into heroin. So that was, yeah, I remember the first time I did it. It was like the first time I smoked weed. I mean, just way more intense, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is like so much peace, you know? Because just this whole time, anxiety, depression, just all kind of. I stopped going to school when I was like in 10th grade. I had my GED, so I'm educated. But, you know, yeah.
I was worried.
Yeah. So I started doing that, you know, and I was staying with him, and it was just really dark, really bad. And, but I got to the point after a couple of months of doing heroin, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't like it. Like, because, you know, I'm sure you've heard this. You do it once, it's amazing, and it's never the same after that.
I haven't heard that, but I could imagine.
Really, it's true. Never the same. Do it once, it's never the same. Don't do it again.
So just don't do it. Maybe.
Do it once, do it not again. No, just kidding. Don't even do it once. But yeah, and I just was depressed. This guy was just terrible. It was a terrible situation. I myself was like, I don't want to do this. So I went to my mom and was like, I need help.
Good for you for asking for help.
Thank you. Yeah, big thing for an 18-year-old, you know.
I'm sorry, you were only 18 at this point?
I was only 18, yeah.
So
I got it all done young.
You had a long life and you're only 30.
I'm only 30. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. So she put me in a detox center and then got me into like a sober living, and I was there for a couple days, but I didn't want to like be sober, you know, like I just didn't want to do heroin anymore. Like I, you know, had gotten like to the point, the physical addiction happened like very quickly. And I got to the point where I was like there and I didn't want to do that. So she was like, no, you have to be in sober living to be here. I was like, I don't want that. So this guy I knew, not the same guy I did heroin with, but kind of in the circle, him and I kind of dated a bit, and he was like, do you want to come live with me? And I was like, sure. So I left sober living and moved in with him. And we got together and started dating, and he was very into pills, like Oxycontin and all that stuff. So instead of doing heroin, I would do that, which in my mind felt more justifiable. You're like, it's not as bad, but it's as bad. So I got really into that. Him and I actually ended up getting married. So I got married when I was 18. And yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, but.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, yeah, the marriage was, we were like on ecstasy in Reno.
Yeah, so maybe not the right mindset.
It was not the right mindset or the right person. He was.
Lots wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he was like kind of a drug dealer in a way, you know. I mean, so it was bad. Yeah, we went to Reno one day and we were like, did ecstasy. And we're like, we should get married. If we still feel like that, you know, in a couple hours, we'll get married. And
let's check back in a few.
We did, because we were on ecstasy, so we got married. Oh my God, my mom was furious. She was so upset. My dad was upset too. He was, you know, actually we weren't talking at the time for a second. But
you and your dad?
Me and my dad, yeah, because the first boyfriend, him and I got in trouble, and I ended up wanting to like be with him still, and my dad was like, I can't support this. So him and I actually didn't talk for like a year. Okay. But then he found out I was married later. Anyway. My poor mom, though. She was devastated, and I stayed with him, and I think that's when I hit, like, my low. Like,
was that your rock?
That was my bottom. My bottom. I was with this guy. I wasn't into him. Like, you know, did not have a very good relationship. It was all just focused on drugs. I was depressed. My mom and I weren't close. Her and I were very close, and she just hated this guy, so, you know, and she didn't like what I was doing, so we didn't have a very close relationship. I didn't have many friends at the time, and I would literally sit in bed like taking Oxycontin like with my dog and like watch The Office all day. And I lived on like Pop-Tarts and yogurt and like
just numb.
Just
numbing and
yeah. Yeah, I weighed like 2 pounds, and I was just one day I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I left and I moved back in with my mom, and she got me off like the Oxycontin. I had to take Suboxone and do the whole thing, you know. And then from there, that's like when the healing started. So I was like 19 at that point when I moved back in, like right before my 20th birthday, and getting off pills, and I had to get divorced, you know, which was like, I mean, I was so young, basically my parents handled it for me. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But it still takes a long time. You have nothing together. I was like, I think we were married for 11 months. The divorce took like over a year. Yeah, it's still stressful. So, but that's when I started to get into yoga. So I had a little experience with yoga when I was a teenager. I dabbled in it. But there's a studio by my mom's house, and I started going all the time. And like, I started to feel that feeling like when I did drugs, like that. Oh my God.
Through yoga.
Through yoga. Like,
beautiful. So
I feel better.
Exactly.
Exactly. And started to get to that. You know, I think too, when you have anxiety, you know this, it's like the head's always just, you don't get that relief. So I think that's what drugs did for me and what yoga does for me. It like slows me down and gets me connected, and I just feel good. Like, you know. So
it seems like kind of you needed the drug journey to get to the health, you know, to your heart
totally
journey, to the tools that will really thrive your life.
For sure.
That makes any sense.
Yeah, like I
needed that.
Totally. Like a part of me wishes I could have done that from the beginning. Like I will definitely introduce our daughter to yoga. Like from day one. You know, I already do yoga now. Like with her in the womb, so I'm hoping she doesn't have to go through that sort of journey. But you know, it was all for the best, and I learned so much from it, and I wouldn't change it, you know. But yeah, that's where the yoga started, and I just became obsessed with it. And after a couple months of practice, I was like, I want to go to teacher training. So I did my first teacher training when I was 20. It was Saul David Ray, who's just, I don't want to say it, but I think still to this day my favorite yoga teacher. Like,
nice.
Just, I know.
I say it.
I have so many good ones, so I feel bad. But I mean, that was just my first introduction to like diving deep into yoga. And beyond the asana, about, you know, the physical postures, like getting into the meditation, into the mantra and the chanting and all that. And I mean, that just changed me like 100%. And I started to like feel self-love for the first time.
I was just thinking about self-love.
Yeah. And I think that's what yoga does for you. It like connects you with who you really are, like who we are, all really are, like our soul essence, you know, which is just magnificent and love and beauty and perfect, you know. So you connect with that, and then you're like, I think this other stuff just kind of naturally falls away. So I had a couple good years on that. You know, I partied a little bit, like just as any 20-year-old would though. I'd go to the bar and drink.
Yeah.
I do coke now and then, whatever. But you know, nothing like self-abusive. Yeah. And then when I was 22, I had a sexual abuse incident with a family member, and that just rocked my world. Like, I'd say that was another bottom for sure. Not quite as low as the first one, but it was just awful, you know? And it like destroyed my relationship with my dad temporarily. Like, we're good now, but we didn't speak for like 7 years after that, which was just so hard. And I didn't know what to do. You know those things that happen where you're almost like, I can't believe this is happening, and it just feels so unreal, like you're in this like dream. That's just like how it was. So I did therapy, like talk therapy, which was, you know, I remember, I think when you're at that level, like you need something more. Like I remember I drive up to the therapist's office and I turn around and like, I can't talk about this, you know?
Yeah, talking is hard.
Talking
not ready.
Yeah, I feel like
communicating's a hard skill.
Totally. And I feel like when there's so much trauma in the body, like now I know a lot of tools like EFT tapping and, you know, I start seeing like a hypnotherapist, things that kind of gear you towards like get the trauma out a little bit so you can talk a little bit. And, you know, so you're not just so like, so from there I got like really into, I got prescribed Xanax. I started doing Xanax all the time, and I kind of went back into that numbing out phase, and I was still doing yoga and I was teaching, but I stopped for a bit and kind of got back into it. It was just hard, and I wasn't functioning very well. So the opportunity to move to South Africa came up. My mom's South African, and my granny was sick, and she was like, maybe it'd be good for us to like get away for a couple of years. And I think that'd be good. Yeah. So I moved to South Africa, and it was an amazing experience. Like, I think living in another country is just wonderful, and it's beautiful. Like Cape Town is just epic, and all the South African men are delicious, and they loved my accent, so that was really good. And that was like such a mixed time. Like I found a lot of healing there just through like hiking and nature, And I found a great yoga teacher and studio that I loved. I did another teacher training. So it was like weird. I had like that half going on. And then on the weekends and sometimes carrying into the week, I was super into drinking and doing Coke again. So it was like a very odd, you know, half and half thing I was doing.
Yeah.
And then from there, I actually got sick with Epstein-Barr while I was there. And that, like, it's just this virus that just kind of, it's like a form of mono.
Okay,
But, like, for some people, it just lasts a really long time. So I got it. I was sick for, like, a year. It, like, ravaged my tonsils. I had to get those out. So it's just an interesting time. I was dealing with, like, sickness, with, like, a lot of partying, but also, like, getting really deep into yoga. So it was kind of nuts. But after 2 years, I was so homesick, and I was done. I want to come home. So I came home, and really quick after I came home, I think I had like one of my last nights of drinking. I went out with my cousin in Malibu, and I totally embarrassed myself in front of Luke Wilson. I went up to him saying,
That actor?
The actor, yeah. We got really drunk in Malibu.
Was this at the bungalow?
Yeah, Casa Escobar.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So and I went up to him and told him how much I loved him and how great he was, and I was super drunk, and it was super embarrassing. And the night ended with me like crying to my ex-boyfriend in a stairwell of some stranger's house, and that was kind of like, I was like, I gotta stop drinking. Like that's
another rock bottom, but not
like,
as intense, but it got you out of drinking.
Yeah.
That was the last time you drank?
No.
Oh,
that was one of the last times.
Okay.
So after that, 6 months later at my friend's baby shower, I drank. But then from there, I didn't drink for like years. I think I had a little bit of champagne at my wedding. My wedding was the last time I did Coke. So, yeah, I guess I skipped ahead a little bit, but that was I think my last party night.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant.
Yeah,
self-destructive party night.
Yes,
that was your last.
That was it. And I just felt done. And like whenever I talk to people about drinking, quitting doing drugs, like I always feel like it happens in. Like, I've never met anyone who... Segments,
yeah.
Yes, exactly. I've never met anyone who's like, I'm done, and now I'm actually done, and they never did it again. Because that's usually not how it works.
Usually it's like, I'm not going to drink for a week.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drink for 2 weeks, and then they start drinking again.
Exactly.
Like, even more heavily.
Yeah, and I honestly believe that's part of the process, because, like, as humans, I don't know why, but we forget. And we forget how shitty we felt and why we're doing it, and then we have to do it again and remind ourselves, you know? So, so it was kind of like that, but that was kind of like the end of it. So from there, I stopped drinking, totally. And I'm like not a good drinker, like really bad. I get really sick.
Your body doesn't.
Yeah, no. Like I think
Has that always been the case? And you just kept still drinking?
Yeah, I didn't actually start drinking like with alcohol. I didn't start till I was 17. That was like the last thing I got into, which was really weird. I hated the taste.
It's funny because usually it's the first.
It's the first thing.
But your life is very unique.
Yeah, I like to do it different. Yeah, I didn't like the taste. I just liked other things better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you seem to go to the more powerful things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
like the kick.
Yeah, exactly.
The punch.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's too mellow, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. So, the first couple of years I drank, I was fine because I was young. But as I got older, like, I think by 23, like, I had the worst hangovers. Like, I would drink and throw up for, like, days after. So my body and alcohol just do not mix well. So, stopped doing that. And I was still smoking weed, but, like, at night and here and there. And, like, you know, it didn't affect me too much. Felt like that was okay for where I was. But yeah, I got really into yoga, did another yoga teacher training.
Nice.
My Kundalini training. I got into sound healing, so doing like crystal bowls and the gong and all that. And just got super deep into all that stuff and just teaching a lot, started teaching kids and doing really well. And I met my husband when I was 26 and we got married like super fast. We got engaged after 2 months and then married after 5 months. And everyone was like, oh my God, you pregnant? And I was like, no, we just love each other. We're gonna get married. So that was a whole, journey, and he's amazing and just helps. He is, I know. Yeah, he'll be on here.
He'll be
next
on here.
time. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and he helped me so much, just process through kind of everything I've been through, and just helps kind of keep me on a good track. And he's a coach, so it's perfect. Double-edged sword of being married to a coach. Sometimes I love it. Sometimes it's super annoying.
Whatever you need, the universe will provide. Though.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes.
Do you ever have to tell them, I don't want to be coached right now?
Yeah.
Like all the time.
I'll just say like, I just need like a hug. I just need you to understand. And, I'm just
no
not
fixing.
Yeah. Exactly. No. And I think that's such a lot of men. I feel like they're fixers and like they just
they're uncomfortable if they can't fix.
Yeah. And they're like, I have to do something, know. So, but he's gotten really good about that. Like now he'll just be like, okay, I'll just give you a hug. And, we'll move from there. So, we've had, a wild ride for a couple of years. The whole time I've been doing my yoga, my meditation. I think that's definitely what keeps me sane. And
would you say that's your number one tool of keeping balanced and peaceful?
Yeah. That and I think like what that means to me is like my connection with God. I like using the word God. I guess some people aren't into that word. Whatever you want to use. Whatever the person being who created this and keeps all the plants in the sky and organizes the whole thing. For me, that's what I call God. So and yoga for me keeps me connected to that. So I think that's the biggest thing for healing, and people find that in different things. You find people who go to church and find Jesus, and people who do that, like, and all the stories I hear, that seems to be, and even in AA, you go and the first step is you find a power greater than yourself. And
is that the first step?
That's the first step.
Oh,
unless I'm mistaken, I
love that.
It's been a second since I've been in AA, but I think that's the first step. Yeah, admitting you're powerless and that, there's something greater than you.
Love it. Have you always believed in a higher power? God?
Yeah. Never, not all, like when I was a kid, I don't think I acknowledged it as that, but my mom always raised me with that.
Do you think your relationship with God was there when you were going through these challenging times that you touched on?
Oh my God, I don't think I would have survived. Like there's times I just, like God, angels, like 100%. There's times I just am like, wow, how did I live through that? Like,
but in the moment, do you remember, like, back in the childhood when you were in your really rough, like rock bottom times? Did you have God in your life then?
Not consciously, no.
Yeah.
No,
but
I didn't consciously.
He was watching.
Exactly.
He, she, they.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever it is.
Whatever we're calling it.
Yes.
I know that there was something there.
Okay.
And protecting me and 100%. But no, I consciously didn't think of a relationship with God, I think, until I got into yoga. Until I was like 20. So, I think that's the number one. And for me, yoga gets me there. For some people it's church and whatever it is. So whatever gets you there, I think that's it. Because it just takes all that stress off you. Like when you think you have to do something on your own and do your life on your own, like, it's a lot, and you're not supposed to. Yeah.
It's not how we're supposed to live.
Yeah. And my husband and I every night read a book called Jesus Calling, I think it's called. And it's a beautiful book. I want to say that's the name. I think it is. And they have a little passage for every day, and it always talks about kind of how you're not designed to do this on your own, and a lot of times these challenges bring you close to God. Like who knows if I would have developed a relationship with God consciously if I didn't go through all this, So that's pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, I
think we're gonna wrap up.
Yeah, I know, right? It's
that
been
was
a
beautiful.
lot.
Thanks for sharing all of that from
Sorry, I hope that wasn't too long.
No, it was beautiful. It was great. It was great. Question. So, since you've had a lot of very intense challenges, I feel like I've only had maybe like one, and not even to your level. So, how do you deal with the in between? Like, are you scared something big is going to happen again? Or are you peaceful? Are you present and you're balanced? Or are you kind of nervous for what's next? Because it seems to be a pattern in your life.
It's a mix. That's a really good question. It's a mix. A lot of the times I find myself being pretty mellow and feeling like good, but there's always that thought in the back of my mind, like, oh God, like what's next? What's next?
Is it kind of always creeping, that thought? Is it always in your space? Or is it?
I'd say about 30% of the time.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
What are you doing that 30% of the time when it's there? You're not doing yoga, probably.
I'm not doing yoga. I was going to say probably just sitting on the couch zoning, like not using my brain or my body or, just letting the thoughts come in. But things have, as I got older, definitely mellowed out. And, I think too, like I'm firm believer, like, you want to go down? No? Okay.
Like, just plop her down.
Yeah, sure. When you're,
perfect.
like, your brain actually isn't fully developed till you're like 25. And I really do feel like from, like, when I hit, like, around 25, like, I felt myself thinking a lot differently and acting a lot differently. So I feel like just sometimes getting older helps with this stuff. And, you have more impulse control and just, I don't know, for me at least it did. But yeah, there's definitely, I think pregnancy's brought that out a lot in me too. It's like, there's definitely been a lot more worry.
What's your biggest worry right now?
Like, I'm going to do something to harm her, or
it's all about
eat something bad. It's going to give me food poisoning, or, like, I was at the dog park yesterday and, like, a dog, like, stepped right here, and I was like, oh no. And
were you thinking about it a lot after?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, I know, right? And it was like, you gotta calm down.
Yeah, thank God for Noah.
Thank God for Noah, yeah.
Pattern interrupt.
Seriously. So that's brought out a bit, but yeah, I'm just like, I just want to get her healthy, get her good,
get her born, get her here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's been my biggest. Like,
What do you do to stay present?
Yoga, big one. And
love it. You love your yoga.
I was gonna say yoga is gonna be like my answer for everything.
Cool.
And
that's great.
Beyond that, like chanting. Like chanting's a big one for me.
I really want to get into chanting.
You should.
It's hard.
Yeah. Well, I'll hook you up with some good mantras.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what I love about mantra, and it's like you're not. It's not English, so it's like when I'm singing it, I don't feel like, oh, I'm trying to sound very good, like,
Yeah, you're not worried
pretty
about
song.
Sounds.
No, you're just singing, and these are like very ancient sounds that like literally have just a huge impact on our body, and even like where your tongue touches the roof of your mouth touches certain points, and that changes how your brain reacts to things. It's like an amazing science. And that's a great one to do because, like, if I'm feeling lazy, especially, and I don't want to do yoga, like, I'll just do a mantra.
Because you can just be chilling anywhere and just blurt it out.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get into that.
Exactly.
I'm gonna commit to that.
And there's like different deities you can connect with, and just different mantra for everything. It's like prescription kind of.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yoga, mantras. What is it called again? Isn't there another word? Not mantra, but
chanting.
Chanting. Yes, chanting. Do you do breath work at all? I was doing breath work a little bit. It's never been something I got super into, but I know that's super powerful. Like, that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk about sound baths a little?
Sure.
Because I was describing it to my uncle the other day, and I could have done a better job. Because I know how healing it is, and I know you facilitate them, or you're a musician of them.
Yeah.
I know how to say that correctly.
I'm a musician. I feel like
you are a musician.
I feel like anyone can play them. It's not like you have to learn chords or whatever, and it's like a very just kind of intuitive thing.
Musician,
which is great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So sound healing is just basically the science of using sound to heal. So sound has a vibration as a frequency, like we all do, so you use these instruments, like I mainly work with crystal singing bowls. They're made out of quartz crystals. I have like 7, one for each of the 7 main chakras, and each of those chakras has a vibration. So you play this bowl, and
see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that vibration tunes up your chakras and tunes you up. So like, when I think it's like 432 is the hertz I usually play, and that's like, super good high frequency. So, and that kind of gets your body there. And they're doing all this research around like sound healing and healing cancer. Because I can like vibrating like the tumors away. Like, I mean, they're doing all sorts of things. And it's kind of another one of those, I like lazy hacks. I feel like it's like a lazy hack. Because it's really easy to do, and you feel just really good after, and you didn't have to do
That's
anything.
great, yeah. I think everybody loves a lazy hack.
Yeah, totally. Like, I feel like when we do sound baths, we always have so many more people than like in a yoga class, because you're gonna feel great after this, and you just have to lie down, and that's it.
I know, it's beautiful.
Wonderful. Yeah,
bathe me.
Exactly. Like,
it's very easy.
Yeah, very easy. So I love stuff like that.
Cool.
Because it just takes the resistance out.
Well, why were you called to get into it? To become a musician?
So, to be a musician. So, Kundalini Yoga, which is one of the main yogas I practice, they work a lot with sound healing. And this is one of my other favorite teachers, Anna, and that's Danielle. She's like sound healing queen. So I'd go to her class and she did sound healing, and I started going to her sound baths, and I just loved it. Like I felt so good after. So then I wanted to get into it. So my mom for my birthday got me a set of bowls, and I started mentoring with her and would go play at her sound baths and stuff, and then got into myself. So yeah, I was really just experiencing it. Kundalini Yoga is a super powerful, like quick thing, I think too, especially like whenever I talk about addiction or stuff like that, I always recommend Kundalini Yoga.
Okay.
It's weird. Like it's weird as hell. Like you do some stuff and you're like, why?
Kundalini Yoga?
Kundalini Yoga.
Like weird poses?
Like weird poses. Like you'll be like this, doing this like crazy breath for like, 10 minutes. And you're just like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand.
Maybe to get rid of like it feels awkward and then you have to just keep holding it until it's no longer awkward.
Exactly. Yeah.
No longer uncomfortable.
Exactly. It just really works on like all levels of the body.
Yeah. And your mind too.
Yeah,
right?
and your mind. And they have a lot of mantra, a lot of chanting.
While you're doing an awkward position?
Sometimes.
You
gotta do it. It's really good. It's
cool.
It's weird stuff, but it's really powerful. And I feel like it's like when you're in it, you need those deep things to really like a good vinyasa class is like cool, but like it's not gonna get as deep as like,
Love it.
And you love vinyasa, like don't kill me. I love vinyasa too.
I love hot yoga.
Yeah. And then again, it's like whatever does it for you. Like for me, I feel like I need to go like beyond the asana, like the meditation, the chanting was like really what.
Yeah, gotcha.
But of course, the physical part too, because like that's what sets it all up.
Gotcha.
For
Yeah.
Because you got to get the energy out so you can sit and meditate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that.
Yeah.
I got lots to learn.
Yeah.
So, question.
Yeah.
So you obviously had a long journey, lots of hardships, challenges, and now you're you're so healthy. You have a great life. You're great mindset. You're great husband, great life, great dog.
Thank you.
So what do you attribute your healing to? Because you really made a transition. If you were to choose, you could choose as many as you want, but what would you attribute your healing to specifically?
It's gonna shock you. I'm gonna say yoga.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna say first.
No, that's great.
I mean, that's what
whatever
changed
it is
for me. That's what changed. I mean, it's a multitude of things. Like yoga, like developing a relationship with God, which for me, yoga and that just feels like the same thing.
Okay.
Like getting in touch with your higher self, with your higher power, whatever that is. And then I've just been blessed to have a really good family, like a mom that's never given up on me. Like, my dad is like now super supportive, and just both my parents have really good attitudes and they're just helpful, so, and really good friends, you and Paigey and just all the like people I've been blessed to be around. So love. It's like not a journey you can do on your own, So I'd say those are the biggest things.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yoga and God.
Yoga and God, yeah.
Well, yeah. I like it.
I know. Simple, but.
So let's back up a little. So go in your mind a time in your childhood where you were one of your rock bottoms. I know you had a few. What would you tell your younger self to help them rise above, maybe in a less painful way?
I would just like want to comfort her and be like, it's all gonna be okay. Like,
yes, like a big hug.
Yeah, and just like,
give her some love.
Yeah, some love, and just bring that. And like, love yourself. Like, you don't need to do all this crazy stuff. And of course, encourage like, relationship, like just getting in touch. And just stop doing all this outside crazy crap and just tune in. And
what was it you think, because you said around 10 you felt you were already feeling depressed and self-conscious about your body and all that stuff. Did something trigger that? What do you think it was?
I mean, my family, there's a lot of depression and anxiety that runs in my family. So I really feel like it's just, some people would disagree with this, but I do feel like there are people who just have chemical imbalances and, genetic. So, I feel like that's probably the biggest thing because I don't remember, in 10, I think hormones starting to act up a little bit. Because I can't think of anything that happened when I was like 10 that just made me super depressed. Like, just kind of happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Plant medicine? What role has plant medicine played in your life, if any?
Yeah, for sure. I consider like marijuana plant medicine, and that was something.
Oh, totally.
That just helped me just through the years, just kind of like, obviously when I was 13, like that's not a healthy thing to do. You're still developing and it's not the time, but as I was older, and definitely would help with my anxiety, and moments where I just felt like my head was too much, just would kind of tune in and relax and, do that, do a little yoga. And I haven't had too much experience with it, but I do know the journey that I did with Christy, what was it?
Kana, yeah.
That night was the night I decided that I wanted to like write a letter to my dad and reach out, because we hadn't spoken in a long time. And I didn't do it that day, and it took me about another 10 months to do it.
But that's when you had.
But that's when I had the idea.
Powerful.
And crazy enough, that journey ended up being with his ex-fiance, which I never like.
She happened to be the facilitator.
She happened to be the facilitator, and so I actually got to chat with her a little bit, and like she knew me when I was a kid, and it was amazing. So I think that's the biggest experience I've had with plant medicine.
Love it.
And I've done it here and there, and every time I do it, I think it's a great healer. And I think it's just funny because like when you think about addiction, you think about, a lot of people just think about sobriety. And I think that plant medicine can help a lot with addiction, because for me, addiction is not about the drug. Like I don't think addiction has to do like, that is like the Band-Aid, the cover up, you gotta get to what's like underneath that, because like I've even had times in my life where I'm in a good place and I can touch this and that and be okay, so whatever works for you, of course, if like just sobriety works for you, then that's what works for you. But I think that can be like really beneficial in digging deep and being like, why do I feel this way? Why do I need to have this like substance all the time?
So addicts. So yeah, you touched on that's such a great differentiation. So what advice would you give addicts? Any addicts out there?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing I'd say is like, it's not about the drug.
Yeah,
like, that's the afterthought.
What really is?
Yeah, and that's not gonna. For some people it does, but I don't know. Like I spend a little time in the AA world, and I think it's great. For me, like in the beginning, it was really great. Like I was in a dangerous place. I had to get off drugs. Like I had to like.
AA helped you initially.
Initially, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But then I felt the more I stayed in it, it was all kind of about being off of this drug. Like it was like a focus on drugs in a different way. Like it was on the not drugs. Like Esther Hicks talks about like how we have like the war on drugs in this country. It doesn't make the drug war, the drug problem better because we're like still focusing on drugs.
Yeah.
So I think like my advice would to be, obviously, if you're in that dangerous place and you're like doing heroin and you're doing something that can kill you, like yes, like definitely like get off and like do that. And then from there, I would dig deeper. And AA helps you do this too. They have the steps and whatever, and it's whatever works for you. And that, you enjoy that. But I would say start to dig deeper and be like, why? Like, what's happening? What am I feeling that like makes me want to do this all the time?
Yeah. What am I trying to mask? What am I trying to cover up instead of feeling?
Exactly. Yeah. And usually I feel like it's some form of like self-hatred or not accepting yourself or disconnection from yourself, because I feel like whenever I've seen people kind of go on the journey of like self-love and self-discovery, like that stuff just kind of falls away, like when you love yourself, like you don't want to harm yourself and put crap in your body and do things that are dangerous.
Exactly.
Yes. So I really feel it's just like whatever state you're in, and it's not like
why do you think some people turn to heroin and some people turn to yoga?
I think it's what what you're around, what you're offered, like what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
For me, like even if when I was introduced to heroin, if I had someone come up to me and say, "Do you want to do yoga?" at the same time, I probably would have said no, because I wasn't in the place to want to do that yet. I wasn't. I was kind of in that self-destructive place. Yeah. So the heroin was on that same vibration. So that's why I went that way. But then, you eventually
find your way back.
It doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work. So when you realize that and you still feel shitty and you're doing this, and you still feel shitty, you're like, okay, I need to try something else.
I'm so happy you had the support you needed when you needed it. sounds like your mom was the main. Was she the
Oh
biggest
my gosh,
influence?
I
in your
would
life?
not be here without my mama. Yeah, like that woman.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, oh,
You guys are so close.
Same.
At first I thought it was weird, but really it's the
Thank
most
you.
beautiful thing.
That's honest.
I wish I had that sort of relationship with my mom. Maybe not that close.
Yeah, we're real
But hey,
oddly
50%
close.
of that.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's very beautiful.
Thank
and
you.
it sounds like she has really lifted you up in all your hard times.
Yeah.
So she sounds like she was a great mother to you.
Oh my gosh.
Up until right this moment.
Yeah, she fought for me, and
Yeah.
even when like all her friends would be like, your daughter sucks. Like, she's
Because
like,
you
no.
put her through something.
Yeah, she's like, no,
Yeah.
she's going through something, and she was just always there, and whenever I needed help, she'd get me help, and always there to talk to, always there to help me. Like, I mean, she's just like the most amazing woman in the world, so I'm super blessed. Yeah. So yeah, wouldn't be here without her.
Can't wait to connect with her more when she moves here.
I know, we got
So
another ride to
exciting.
Utah. I'm so excited.
Yeah, let's slowly just
Slowly.
bring everybody in so we don't have to move again.
That's my
I don't want to
plan.
move again.
No.
Like, I'll move out of this house, but not out of Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm flexible now.
I know. I wish I could get my dad out here, but like he's a surf bum. And
You kind of know that's you're not going to
Yeah.
give energy to that.
No.
He's a happy camper over there.
He's-
Might as well just let him be.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he lives across from the beach. He's got a great deal on his house. Like, I
Yes.
can't blame the guy. So
Yes.
I miss him.
But the travel back isn't too bad, so.
Well, you fly all the time. I always drive.
Well, I'm not even going back. Paige is the one flying back
That's
all the
true.
time.
That's true.
I'm happy here. I don't need to go back. My mom comes. My family visits, so.
Yeah.
My
but
family.
we haven't had that yet. We're not as cool as you guys. We're not as attractive as you, so
What are you talking
You
about?
guys always have visitors. We've had like one person
Oh.
come visit us. So
That's because Paige makes them come.
maybe I'll do that. But yeah, so we've driven literally since we've lived here since last September. I think we've driven home like 5 times, and it's like 11 hours to San Diego, 9 hours to LA.
Yeah.
But it's
that's
not-
a little bit of, I was
it's not
talking about
bad.
flying. It's not bad, but.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
flying is like a breeze.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm one of those weird people. Like, I don't really like planes, so I'd rather drive 10 hours. Like,
So yeah, I knew you actually prefer driving.
Yeah.
I can tell because you always do it.
yeah, I don't like it. I'd rather walk 20 flights of stairs than take the elevator. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You would prefer the stairs over the elevator?
Yeah, elevators
Okay.
freak me out too.
So it sounds like you like to choose the suffering path.
Wow, it kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
An illusion of safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What was your biggest fear growing up?
Dying.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I remember from like a very young age, like thinking like, wait, at some point you just die and like that's
Then
it.
what?
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean now once you kind of develop more of like a spiritual connection, I mean it still freaks me out, of course.
But not at that level.
But yeah, because when I was younger, I was just like, is that lights out? Is that it? Like and I would stay up and be really freaked out about it.
So would you say is that what you were numbing? Your fear of death, maybe? What were you numbing?
It was numbing more sadness.
Okay.
And anxiety, worry, like just thoughts going very quickly.
What were you worrying about?
Thinking back then, I don't even know what I was worried about.
Everything?
I think everything. Yeah.
Because then you were overwhelmed and you said you were really anxious.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
And I also and I remember being a kid, like I hated school. Like I hated school. It would make me really anxious to go to school. And
but the people,
even
social
maybe
aspect?
social aspect, which is
agree with
weird
that.
because I'm very social and like I always had friends and stuff. But I remember when I was in 10th grade and I was going to Fairfax High School, like it would make me so anxious to be at school I would like cut myself in the bathroom.
Whew.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
Yeah, so I don't know what about school I hate so much, but so from there, my mom found out I was doing that, and then I started doing homeschool for the last 2 years.
Interesting.
Kind of trailed off and then just did the GED, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
Wow, I don't know how we got down that path.
I know, right? Yeah. But yeah, so I think maybe just like the lifestyle of a kid I wasn't into. I didn't like the whole school thing, and you spend so much of your time doing that, and I'd have to like go to aftercare because my parents worked, and
It sounds like you were just a sensitive, open child. You were just open. And school's overwhelming because kids are mean. Kids are a lot. Kids have a lot of energy.
yeah,
When you're in class and it's like 20 kids and you don't feel good, you don't feel connected to yourself,
yeah.
you turn to the suffering path. You turn to the cutting. You turn to all those things.
Yeah. And something about, and I'm still this way, like I get very anxious having to be somewhere I don't want to be.
So yeah, it's still in you, but now you have the correct tools.
Yeah. And I'm an adult, so I get to choose where I want to be more often. And that, yes. I mean, not all the time, obviously, but like, you know.
You have more control than you thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do. We really do have more control than we think.
For sure. Yeah. And like what we want our lives to look like and what we are going to give time to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying I felt all that crappy because I was at school, but you know. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really good question. Like what I was actually worrying about, like when I'm trying to think back to that age, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you didn't know. Yeah. You were just worried about everything. And then overwhelm can be a scary, scary place.
Exactly. And when you're in a state of anxiety, it's like, it's almost like, it's like nothing. It's like this energy around you. You're just like, you know.
Yeah, I feel that. I felt it today. I felt that yesterday.
Yeah.
And I have freaking all the tools I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
And then if you're a sensitive child, you turn to these things. Exactly. That's why support and awareness is just huge.
Totally.
That's why I like things like this, so we can share and hopefully someone who is struggling listens. And
yeah. I hope I didn't overwhelm with my long story. I didn't think I was going to go that long with it, but you just keep thinking and building on it.
We'll definitely wrap up. I just have a few more questions.
Yeah.
So this is a deeper question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you were sexually abused.
Mm-hmm.
What would you advice would you give other people who have been sexually abused? Because there are so many more than I've ever thought.
So many, like when it happens to you and you start sharing your story, like so many, you're making me cry. So many people come forward with like the same thing, and it's just wild, like how often it happens and how a lot of the times it's someone you know or like a family member.
And you had no idea.
Yeah, like more often than not, it's someone you know, like which is nuts, you know. I'd say my two biggest things. The first thing is like acceptance. Like you're just gonna go through it. Yeah. Like you're not gonna feel good for a second.
Once it happens.
Once it happens.
And you're aware of it.
And you're aware and you're like in the aftermath of it, like give yourself the space to go through it. And like if you need to stop your life, if that's possible for you, like
do it.
Take a break. Yeah. And do things like self-care that just make you feel good, you know? Like in whatever you can do. Like if you can, you know, do some yoga, do some meditation, take a bath, just like anything, whatever makes you feel good. If it's like go for a walk, like it's like a time where you need to heal and be around people you feel safe. I think that's a whole other thing. And if you need to be alone, be alone. I think it's like a time, like a selfish time where you just do what you need to do to heal, whatever that journey looks like for you.
Yeah. So self-love.
And just know it's gonna like, it's like one of those things. I don't know why, like when you just accept something's gonna suck, it kind of sucks less. I don't know. Does that happen for you?
The suck ends way quicker. I know that.
Because you're just like in acceptance of it and you're not trying to push it away. So it's just kind of like, you know.
Accept what is,
Yeah.
So simple, so hard, so powerful.
And you know, if you can get support around it, like, and I'd say like something that involves, I mean, talk therapy really works for some people. For me, I think because I went to so much therapy, it just kind of didn't. So I would do, if you can get into like EFT tapping or EMDR or something to like literally get, because that trauma is like stored in your body. Yeah. So something with a more physical thing beyond talking to like get it out, and then talk, of course.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes
I feel like the sharing is a big part.
Sharing is huge,
just but talking about it is hard. Like I started bawling just saying the words.
Totally. Well, sometimes I was at that point where I couldn't talk about it because I was just too hard. But if I would have done like a little work first, or while I was talking, did a little tapping, you know, to like get it out of my system, it would have been easier to talk about it, you know.
Totally. Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation.
Nice. Yeah. That would be very helpful for people.
Yeah, and like finding, like, I feel like when it happens to you, start to talk to more people, like I said, and you find more of a community, and that helps too, talking to people who've been through it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So before my final question,
we're gonna wrap up.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
We'll go eat some dinner.
Yeah, sure. Awesome.
I like to open it up if you want to share anything you feel called to share. Question for me, question for the listeners. Anything? You don't have to have anything, but I like to open it up.
No, I'm just honored thanks for having me. And
of course.
Thanks for my spiel.
Thank you, of course. You're a perfect guest for the show.
Oh, thank you. And I love what you're doing. And, thank you. Know, I think the more we can all, you know, relate to each other and open up, and, you know, at the end of the day, you find we're all very similar. We all have very similar not necessarily stories, but like emotions,
Mm-hmm.
things we go through. So the more, you know, you see, I feel like especially now with like the social media age, it's very easy to see like, oh, everyone's perfect and no one has a problem. And so it's like good to get honest and stuff like that. And like
Totally.
everyone has something.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's just what's your brand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the podcast is called Sacred Pause. So I'm just wondering what a sacred pause means to you.
That's a good one. I think it's just that. It's like taking a pause, taking a couple breaths and turning inwards. Getting away from like distraction, like a quiet place or a place in nature. Or just anywhere that feels like nice and safe. Taking a couple breaths. Closing your eyes. Reconnect.
Disconnect to connect.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Taking a second. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you. Let's hug.
Okay.
I'm learning
In
how to
our
hug
pretty
better.
dresses.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you so much.